Welcome to Far Cry 3 multiplayer. By executing team play features such as reviving,
Someone help me!
and capturing nodes,
We got this!
you gain access to the best weapons on the island.
Well, I wish I could say that this room was on fire, but it's not, sadly. We're just in a normal meeting room here at Ubisoft Massive, but we're going to talk about fire, lots of it, because Daniel here is the author of the very innovative and sort of new Firestorm mode. That's one of the multiplayer modes found in Far Cry 3. First of all, what is Firestorm?
Firestorm is a game mode that is solely dedicated to fire. Fire was a huge part of Far Cry 2. So at the very beginning of the project, we decided to, yes, fire is an awesome thing, and we should dedicate an entire game mode to fire. And where the idea is not to like have a little bonfire in the corner. The idea is that the whole damn map is burning.
So if you compare it to, because it's a little bit abstract, it's about fire, but if you compare it to other game modes and sort of what the player objective is, what's the flow of the game mode?
The flow of the game mode is definitely it's the game mode in Far Cry that's going to be the most put the most emphasis on team play. Your objective in the game mode is to set ablaze the enemy's supply depots. But the key component here is that if you set a depot on fire, it will only burn for a certain amount of time. Now, that means that it opens up a window of opportunity. So the other depot must be set on fire before the other one burns out. So you need both depots burning at the same time. And also the kind of the interesting thing is like when you set something on fire, the fire starts to build and the fire starts to spread, and it alters the layout of the map. So paths that you usually used to take are now not available because the fire has spread there. So we alter the flow of the map. But definitely the key is to set their depots on fire. Once they're burning though, the game mode goes into a different state. There's a multi-layer game mode. So once you've put the enemy's nodes on fire, there's a radio that spawns in the middle of the map. Now, both teams must fight over the radio. So the first stage is team play, get two guys or more on two different locations at the same time to set the fires. But now, when it enters the second, the radio state, both teams are going to fight over one node. And there's fires everywhere. So we kind of put this in a more of like a total crazy, everyone's going for one point inside the inferno, going for the radio. Once the team that set the other team on fire manage to capture the radio, they will call their buddies, and their buddies will come in with an airplane, dropping down gasoline on the fires with an airplane. So if you want to see what that looks like, you play the game, how it looks like when you drop gasoline on an inferno. However, the team that is currently caught in the firestorm, the game is not over for them. There's a comeback mechanic that they can use. That like if they manage to capture the radio, they call their guys, who then calls in an airplane, dropping down water, dousing the fires, resetting the match. So now they can come back and set the other team on fire, and so on and so on. So there's a lot of tactics, and yes, it's an interesting game mode, definitely.
I think the interesting thing about it is that it requires that sort of synchronization between two teams at the same time, because I was on a team that was totally disorganized for the first couple of matches, and we just couldn't get anything going, because we were running towards one, and then we tried to make it to the other one, but you couldn't really get there in time, and then of course the other team is also attacking, so there's that dynamic going. But I felt that the really interesting part was when you get into the center. And I don't know how all the maps are designed. Some of them might be different. We played on a map where there was elevated points surrounding the whole center of the map. But there must be different kinds of map, and that makes for very different gameplay in that phase.
Definitely. When it comes to the radio node, it's we try to put it in a location that offers the most variety in terms of gameplay. I mean, like there's a lot of tactics to be had around the radio node. The radio node, as you saw, it doesn't go active as soon as the Firestorm is created. It pops up, and then it's like a 30 seconds until it activates. And this offers a little bit of an opportunity for the teams to set up their team around the radio. Maybe, I mean, I've seen some teams run into the radio before it activates, drops down a lot of like bombs that will trigger if you go close to them, like mines. And then they run out. And then when the other team, it goes active, the other team comes in and they just walk on the mines and they die and they're not there and the other team swoops in and takes it. So, but in terms of level design, yes, we put the radio in very interesting locations that offer a lot of tactical team play.
And also, of course, not just the mines, but you also have sort of the team support things that you can drop in at that moment. If a team goes in there, you can drop the bombs or you can drop the gas. Just create total chaos when the gas goes off in the center.
Yeah, if one team runs in and tries to capture it and you drop down psych gas, so they go crazy and they don't know who's a friend or foe. There's a big chance that radio is going to be empty in a couple of seconds because they don't know who's who, and there's a lot of disorientation, and they're going to start shooting. They're going to start shooting each other, shooting friends, and it's just. You can
just move in and melee them.
You can move in and drive your machete into their throat. Yes, it's very satisfying.
So I've played it for a little bit, and you know, when you play a map or a game mode for just a few times and sort of things like that, you don't really get into the real tactics, the real things. So could you sort of talk about what it's like playing this game mode in the office, and what kind of situations arise, and sort of the more elite tactics that come into play?
Definitely. So like you said, it does, like you say, like the more you play something, the better you get. This kind of requires the coordination between two players to go in together and to set the fires. Now, one thing that is very important is that if a team manages to protect their own nodes, like the protection and defense of their own nodes is very, very important. And we've noticed in the office when we play, like the people actually do communicate saying like, okay, you two stay and defend it, and the rest of us move in and try to ignite one. But you kind of have to have two fronts moving towards the two nodes, because if you light one, there's fires building up, and there's going to be difficulty to get into the other one before the first one burns out. So synchronizing in time and location, make sure that you have two guys setting the fires almost at once, because if you set one fire and then start moving to the other one, even if you get there before the first one burns out, there's a big chance that the defending team have already bunkered down, and because now it's all or nothing, they defend that node to the death. So it's even if you manage to get there before it burns out, it's going to be difficult to get it. So the key is really to be synchronized and talk to each other and say like, okay, I'm igniting now, and then he ignites at the same time, so you get them at the same time. That's your biggest chance to create a firestorm. And again, when the radio state kicks in, to maybe not be that hectic and just run towards it. There's a lot of nice sniper locations you can take up just overlooking the node. It only requires one player actually to capture the node. So there's no use for an entire team to just huddle around it. So it's actually good if you're just like, okay, but I'm going to stand up here and I'm going to cover this entrance, and you're going to be in the middle trying to capture it, and we're going to have another guy up there covering this. So there's a lot of tactics that comes in.
One thing that struck me right now is that, you know, as a defending team, you can just focus on making sure that the other team doesn't take one of your posts, right? That you can focus everything on that. So there's an advantage to the defending team because you don't have to defend two positions, whereas
you can do that. You can defend one node definitely, but there's still the chance of they get one. You will lose one, but now you only have one chance to defend. So you might have a stronger defense on that one, but if you do lose that one, you're caught in a firestorm and you're in deep shit.
It's just, you know, then you can perhaps focus more people on the attack if you do that, if you just focus on one. So there's a trade-off.
Yeah. There's a definite trade-off, and it's basically it's going to be fun to see what tactics players choose to use.
Carefully designed to take the multiplayer experience to insane and deadly extremes. Play across a wide range of diverse and exotic maps. With a focus on team play, experience the unique features that promote and reward teamwork and are critical to victory.